Welcome to the Brave Little Podcast. It is me and Aaron and Ryan Gosling there for a second.
Wow.
This direction. We are here to talk about Blade Runner 2049?
Yeah, I think it's 2049.
It's 49.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I like the fact that we're taking the podcast into the future as well with this new software we're using in honor of Blade Runner.
Yes, we are.
The new Blade Runner.
Yep. So you could be viewing this any number of ways, either on YouTube in video form, or this could be just like the normal audio podcast. But we're actually recording this through Facebook Live right now, which is super exciting.
Thank you, Mark
Now,
Zuckerberg.
what we're doing right now is... So this part is actually not being broadcast live. It's being broadcast privately. It's just useful for recording the video. But about halfway through this pod, when we talk about the 5 greatest sequels of all time, we will be broadcasting that part. And so you'll notice, because anyone who comments on it while we're broadcasting, we may reference questions, comments, or if people have suggestions for films that should be included in our lists.
Right. And
so just FYI there.
We've agreed that if someone says a bad word in the chat, I will say it, so you won't have to. So you're welcome for that.
So this was like the downside, Aaron, to doing this, was that I don't have the luxury anymore of editing out embarrassing things that I say in post.
Wait a minute. We say embarrassing things on this podcast?
Well, that's the thing. I take out so much of what I say, and I leave all of Skylar's stuff in.
Right.
All of it.
Well, that's one of the Patreon levels. If you're a member for 3 months, you get to hear all the bloopers.
You get full, unadulterated, non-cut or uncut. Yeah, it's the director's cut.
Well, that's definitely Skylar then, uncut.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going for it, man.
Can I tell you, let's do it. Speaking of that, can I tell a funny story about Skylar and being uncut?
Please do. I've set the stage. You have to.
So while Skylar was attending college at Brigham Young University, a university that is owned and operated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, otherwise known as the Mormon Church. Well, the church was producing these New Testament videos that they were filming in central Utah. Okay, they have their own film department, and they make these like instructional videos. And some of them are filmed like, being in the time of Christ in the Middle East. And so central Utah is perfect, but they need disciples in the background, extras that look Jewish, right, to be as accurate as possible. And like one of the, I don't know if he was like a talent scout. I think he picked Skylar out at like an In-N-Out Burger or something and said, "Hey, you look really Jewish. Will you want to be in our New Testament movie?" And I don't think Skylar hesitated. I think he was in. I think he was.
Dude, if someone picked me out of a line of In-N-Out and said, "You look Jewish, come work for me," I'm in.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm like, I made it in Hollywood. That's what I would have initially thought until I realized.
Now, was that man one of the Weinsteins? What did Skylar have to do for his part?
Well, yeah, thankfully it was Bob, so it was
cool.
Misdemeanor level.
Well, Bob is a good one. He hasn't even spoken to his brother in 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years.
Okay.
Exactly. And all of Harvey's crimes happened within those 5 years.
Is that what we're supposed to believe?
I don't know. I don't know why he included that in there.
Well, I mean, hopefully that company gets melted down, but we'll go into that later.
No, they're going to rebrand. Yeah.
Of course they will. Why wouldn't they?
No, they will. Absolutely. They're coming up with a new name now. They're going to rebrand. Yeah. That's what's. I can't wait to see what the name of the new company is going to be and see how effective
how
or
tone
ineffective
deaf it'll be. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I know. Anyway, you're excited right now for another reason. You're wearing your Dodgers hat, as you can see in the video.
Wait, you're not going to finish the Skylar story? No,
that was it.
Oh, okay.
It was about him being.
Wait, did he actually do it?
Spotted out as someone looking Jewish, and he's
Did he do it?
His last name is French.
Oh yeah. Was he in the production?
Oh, absolutely. He spent several days in central Utah, and he's in the background of several shots.
How do I watch this? I need to see this now.
Yeah, let me see some strings I can or some what strings I can pull.
Right.
I can get you the stuff.
Okay, good. I need to see it because I have it on good authority that the camera loves him, as we saw from the last episode of the John Oliver show.
Oh man, this is great. We tweeted this out.
Did we really?
So, yeah, John Oliver, last week tonight with John Oliver on HBO. Go to our Twitter feed if you want to see this photo. They're, we're fans of the show for the most part, I think. Okay, maybe Aaron's not. Aaron doesn't like to be lectured by British people.
No, never. I mean, don't come to my country and tell me what's wrong with it. You're British.
Unless you're Piers Morgan. So he anyway, last week tonight with John Oliver, last week he did a bit about the Confederacy and Confederate monuments and the Confederate flag and why there's this obsession with, some contingent of the country with honoring this time
The
and
fallen
group.
heroes. Just say it. The fallen heroes.
Once again, your words, not mine. My words were ancestors. No. But anyway, there's this hilarious scene where there's this I believe this white ginger man carrying an enormous Confederate flag. Did you watch the clip?
No, I haven't seen it.
So he's got this enormous Confederate flag, and he's arguing with a black man about why it's important for him to be able to retain and celebrate the
Oh my God.
He said it's his family's history, it's his family's farm, and the black guy was like, yeah, who is working those farms?
Oh man, that's incredible.
And his response was, my family. He's like, we couldn't afford slaves. He's like, do you have any idea how much slaves cost? And that was the bit that John Oliver poked fun at, is that the guy's response was basically like, are you kidding me? Do you know how expensive those guys were? Like it was terrible. Well, in the middle of this, this surreal moment where this guy's carrying this huge Confederate flag, talking about how expensive slaves were, in the background, you can see a long-haired, big-bearded Skylar Teo carrying his baby daughter, speaking with a Trump supporter, by the way. As we know, Skylar is very far from a Trump supporter. He's literally the one who led the movement in Dallas to remove their Confederate monument. But he just happens to be caught in a moment on the Trump side of this protest because he's trying to reason with a different Trump protester in the corner.
Well, we know that
probably with no.
Of course, he loves the discourse, right? So he worships the discourse. But in this case, the discourse bit him on the bottom because he is now forever enshrined on in the minds of John Oliver viewers as being on the Trump side.
That's it.
With his baby
an Emmy award-winning show.
Wow. And that's not the first time he was photographed with his baby at a protest, by the way.
No, it's not. There is a famous AP photo of him holding his daughter quite dangerously.
Well, no, as any parent will tell you, as long as the baby is in your hand, as long as the baby is in your father's one palm, she's safe. No matter if she's standing or whatever. So she was fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He had full control of that situation. I mean, full control.
He took a lot of flack for that one as well online in the comment section.
Oh, he sure did. He sure did. Yes, a lot of references to millennial parenting. Just a quick check on the video feed here. Am I lagging for you?
Just a little bit, not too bad. You're skipping every other frame. That's all.
I hope the audio is not skipping every other frame.
Audio's fine.
Okay, great. Well, let's get into Blade Runner. Anything else you wanted to go over?
I just want to say go Dodgers. We're up 2-0 now after the
that's right.
huge
That's right.
Justin Turner 9th inning home run.
Yeah.
My hopes are they're rising. I know it's only the NLCS right now, but that was a pretty epic win. So I'm crossing my fingers.
Oh, that's a bottom of the ninth storybook ending, my friend.
Yeah, but it's early. We still have a long way to go.
But that's the problem. It's a storybook ending to go up 2-0 in a 7-game series.
And I'd like to bring up the fact that the last big home run we had to end a game was 1988, Kirk Gibson. One of the things that is constantly brought up is the fact that there's some cars leaving as it's the bottom of the ninth, and you see there's car taillights in the background of the video. That's brought up every single time that someone brings it up. Tonight, if you go back and watch the video, every seat is full in Dodger Stadium. Bottom of the ninth, no one left. Nobody left because we are passionate fans. I just want to bring that up for the record. No one's talking about that, but I will.
How could you leave that game in those circumstances?
Well, traffic is really bad getting out of the stadium. So
Yeah, for a chance to witness baseball history for your
Oh
team,
yeah.
at least franchise history, I
Oh
should
yeah.
say. I guess it is. It isn't Game 7, so
No, that's true. Yeah. No, no, no one left, thankfully. But like I said, a long way
good.
to go. It's only game two.
So my question is, why don't you attend? Is it just too nerve wracking?
It is incredibly stressful. I want
Yeah.
to go, but it's just I don't have a good time in events like this because it I get so wound up that I can barely contain myself, and just being there in person is just I don't know if I can handle a disappointment. It would be ugly if they lost while I was there. So, I mean, if they go to the World
I
Series,
mean,
maybe I'll go, but I don't know. I don't have any plans on it.
who knows what you'd be capable of in that state of mind? I mean, you could come across a San Francisco Giants fan.
Yeah, oh yeah, and it's happened. Oh, it happened again recently too, by the way. Yeah,
Did it?
yeah, it was a fan of it was like their father and no, it was a son and mother. They they jumped some dude from an opposing team, and it's ugly, man. It's ugly out there.
His son
Careful.
and
Yeah,
mother
so apparently
jumped.
this guy was he was talking trash. This opposing fan was talking trash to the mother of this dude,
Not
and
Giants though. Just
no, not
just
Giants. It was
someone
like
else.
the Reds or
Okay.
something. It was just some
Yeah.
some other random team. But he was opposing fan, and he was talking trash, and he got in this dude's mom's face. And then the guy came to protect his mother, and so there was a fight after that. And even the mom got involved. She like kicked the dude in the head or something. So,
Dodger fans, man.
oh yeah, I'll own up to it, man. They get vicious. They get
They are a little more hardcore than Laker fans.
oh yeah. Laker fans are significantly richer. They have more to lose. So
Yes. No, Laker fans are Hollywood.
they really are. It's like going to a club, going to a Laker game. It's not fun.
Are
I don't
tickets
I don't like it.
also, are they even these down years? Are they hard to get? Are they or not hard to get? Are they still really expensive?
They're still incredibly expensive, and the Lakers have been god awful for quite a while now. So
Yeah. Yes.
but
Not
that's
as
going
long
to
as my
change.
team.
That's going to change this year, by the way.
Of course.
We've
Kuzma.
we got Kuzma and Ball, two super rookies. That's 1A
Yes.
and 1B, rookie of the years.
I can't wait to see who loses the worst between the Mavs, Lakers, and the Kings.
Hey, ESPN said the Kings 27th ranked NBA team in the power ranking, the
Yes.
initial power
Yeah.
ranking.
Yeah.
27.
The
That's pretty
worldwide
good.
leader. The worldwide leader, famous for getting those predictions correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm shaking in my boots. Look, no one ever wins with rookies, no matter how exciting or promising they are. They could show a lot of promise, but they don't win you games. And so I am prepared for. Look, I got season tickets. I know we're going to be
Right.
watching a lot of. I'm excited for this home opener. It's sold out. We're playing the Houston Rockets. We're going to get Chris Paul and James Harden. It's going to be awesome. We're definitely going to lose,
By probably 40
but
points. So
but I get to go and watch De'Aaron Fox make his NBA debut. Get to watch his progress. Got to watch. For me, it's also about Scal and Buddy Hield and Willie Cauley Stein, Frank Mason, even who's been awesome in preseason. But as a Kings fan, I'm accustomed to I guess getting really excited about Vegas, Summer League, and preseason, and building up false hope and expectation.
and being out of it by All-Star break.
Oh my gosh. Ain't that the truth? All right. Dude, I saw Blade Runner 2049 a couple weeks ago on opening night, and I've been dying to talk about this with somebody, okay? According to box office results, not a lot of people saw this movie, so I haven't been able to talk about it with very many people. You have been planning on seeing it. You're a fan of Denis Villeneuve.
Hmm.
If you finally made the time this weekend to go catch it, it's obviously difficult to do considering it's a nearly 3-hour film.
Right.
But I just want to hear it straight from you, man. What did you think?
Straight from my mouth. This is a masterpiece. This movie.
Whoa!
This movie is absolutely brilliant.
Masterpiece?
It's a masterpiece. It's the best thing that Denis Villeneuve's ever done.
Whoa!
Yeah, in my opinion,
Okay.
this movie it's number one or number two for best movies that I've seen this year. It
Number
is-
one or number two for
it's-
this year?
It's right up there with Dunkirk for me. It's right
With
up there.
Dunkirk.
Yeah, I think this movie is so freaking brilliant. I was blown away. I couldn't. I was kind of speechless at the end. I loved this movie. Everything about it was perfect for me. This was the exact movie that I was hoping that I'd get.
So you texted me during a bathroom break, which is again with that runtime required,
Oh, absolutely needed. Yeah.
and you said that so far you were incredibly impressed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was around halfway through the movie or what point that was at. Was the second part after coming back better than what you had experienced pre-bathroom break? Did it get even better, or was it kind of on par, solidly that high caliber all the way
It
through?
was probably a little bit better because that's mostly when the action happens. So, the beginning of the movie is pretty methodical, and it's a procedural detective movie. This is a mystery. The entire movie is like that's what we're watching is a mystery, and I love the way it played out. It was so meticulously laid out. I have zero problems with the pacing whatsoever. People are calling this movie long. It needed to be long. That's
Yeah.
what the story called for. So I love the fact that they were bold enough to give this movie the story the service that it required, which was a long runtime. Unfortunately for some, I had no problem with it. I loved it. This is one of those movies that this is again. I talked about this with Dunkirk. This is the reason that I go to movies. It's created a world that we can inhabit for 2 or 3 hours, and you feel like you're transported. You feel like you're existing in that world. This is what Denis Villeneuve did with Blade Runner 2049. Feels like a real world. So many times we've seen in the past where we go to these other planets or other times, and it feels like these are set pieces. I'm thinking specifically of the Star Wars franchise, especially the prequels. Anytime they go to a different planet, it feels like these are set pieces. Whereas Blade Runner's California, Los Angeles area, whatever you want to call it, amazing. It feels like I've been transported. Everything feels fleshed out. Everything feels authentic. Even though it's obviously not real, it feels like it could be. And I appreciated that so much. It's kind of the feeling that I got with the original Blade Runner, really. It felt like a real place. It's like right off the bat, the setting feels so authentic that I got sucked in right away. And I had no problem going along with the ride. As slow as it was, loved it.
So the slow thing is an interesting complaint. I think that's the thing people are pointing to when they're asking why audiences aren't going to see this film, why it's underperforming at the box office, even though critically it's been doing excellent. It's got a high Rotten Tomato score. So why aren't people seeing it? Okay, there's fewer showtimes because it's so long, or that it's slow. And I have spoken to some people that just it was hard for them to get into it. It was a little bit of a snoozer for them.
Well,
but what's interesting
I had
is
someone fall asleep in my showtime.
oh yeah, sure.
They were
yeah.
snoring. I could hear them snoring. So
Well, that's what makes this film so unique. At the same time, the pacing of the original Blade Runner is also one of the hallmarks of what made it unique. It had this deliberate, now while not as long as 2049, it still had this deliberate kind of took its time, examined things, and the pacing felt lengthy at times and very deliberate. I think Denis Villeneuve does that on steroids in 2049. But that's what I love is that it takes the DNA from its predecessor and applies it in a sequel without having to do retread storylines, without having to have fake nostalgia callbacks. For me, this was the perfect example of how you do this type of sequel, especially like the 30 years later type of sequel, right? When we've seen this go wrong so many times. But here it was like, make this rich world even richer, take kind of the base fundamental story points of the original, and infuse it with a totally fresh angle and take that makes it distinct and different from the original, like very different, yet has that DNA and it's deliberate, both like in the tone of the script itself, but also in the visuals. For me, Roger Deakins is the MVP of this film. I can't believe how well this was shot. This was striking.
yeah. There's no doubt about it. I mean, visually, everything about this is just gorgeous. I mean, from the very first frame. They talk about movies that look great. Every frame is a painting, or every frame can be a still image on its own, and it feels like you're looking at some masterclass in photography, and that's what this movie is. Excuse me. So yeah, it's just gorgeous. Everything about the movie is just stunning. Man, I'm constantly thinking about like all the all the little details, all the little the visual cues, everything about it was just so pleasing to watch, to enjoy. And yes, it's a dark film noir, but they still use color when appropriate. The movie is definitely drab, but there's some use of color that really stands out and works really well. So the palette is interesting without being, too monochromatic or anything like that. Which is, I think people run into it's like, I think of a movie like Seven,
Yeah.
which is a similar film noirish kind of mystery, where it has like a monochrome tone to it, where everything is basically black and white and gray. They could have taken that angle with this movie, but they didn't. The art direction is just, oh man, it's so. I think this movie is going to get so many Oscar nominations and so much recognition. The recognition once the award season comes around, and it's going to be totally warranted. Yeah, technical Oscars. I hope it cleans house, because there isn't a better movie that I've seen this year as far as.
I don't think unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get any screenplay or acting or directing. I hope. I mean, it has a shot. Denis has a shot here.
Oh, he's going to get nominated.
He got nominated for Arrival, didn't he? I thought. I thought he did.
Yeah. I think he did, but he's going to get a nom for this without a doubt. No question.
Oh, he should.
Yeah,
this is a hard thing to do. I mean, he had a lot of reasons not to do this. He had just made Arrival, which was, widely loved.
Mm-hmm.
He did Sicario, Prisoners. For him to make a Blade Runner remake, again, when I first heard, I thought,
I thought
really?
cash grab, dude. That's exactly what I thought. Cash grab. They're cashing on this old IP, and of course they're gonna bring back Harrison Ford. But
exactly. And for him, it's a cash grab. It's like he's on a cash grab tour right now. He got 30 million from Force Awakens, and I don't. Oh gosh, I want to get into spoilers, but we won't here.
No, we can't, because there's just it's so, the way that it plays out is so fulfilling that I don't even want to spoil a minute of that.
You don't want to spoil it, but I will say I do wonder how much he got paid on this film.
He deserved every penny. He gave a great
He was
performance.
excellent.
It's the best. It's the best Harrison Ford we've seen since Regarding Henry.
It's so funny because this guy's so cagey in public interviews. It's hard to know what he cares about, and you can see the types of movies and things he does where he doesn't really care. But in this one, it was almost like, oh, Harrison cared about this story. He cared about Deckard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can tell that he loves the story, and like you said, he cares about it, because he put full effort into it. He was fugitive Harrison Ford in this.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was fugitive to Gosling's Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, for sure. He absolutely was.
How did Gosling do?
Gosling did great. This is a movie he could have easily fumbled, but he did just fine in this. No complaints for me on Gosling at all.
Yeah,
I liked it just fine.
I know we've already really gone over this, but the thing that's still so striking to me and that stands out the most, and I still can't get over, and it's really ballsy, is the amount of time spent in a particular scene or take. There were so many moments when I thought, wow, anyone else would have edited this down or would have been forced to cut this down. But this scene actually needed to linger as long as it did.
Right.
To have maximum impact. And you just don't get that type of freedom usually. So to see him get that, and the studio allowed Denis to make what I think was an incredibly ambitious film for a sequel with an equally ambitious ending.
The ending is perfect. I use the term perfect, but there's no such thing as a perfect ending. But this feels like as close to perfect ending as you can get for this story. And I absolutely left the theater with a smile because of what they did.
It was so satisfying, and it was so incredibly Blade Runner, and it was so incredibly just like it was. They had me hook, line, and sinker, and the path that they were wanting me to go down.
Right.
Even though I knew it was an easy path, and I was like, this seems too easy, but like, this is what makes the most sense, right? And then boom, right? The pieces of the narrative fall into place, and you're just like, oh man, so good.
There. Without giving anything away, there's a final fight sequence that it's small in scale, but it's huge and it's great. It's a very simple fight sequence, but it is so well executed. It's just, man, I cannot praise this movie enough. Everything about it just felt like it was like dominoes lined up, and they just fell perfectly in place. So.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's the type of parent or film my parents would love
Sure.
because of its length and because of it is kind of artistic in a lot of ways. And the ending is going to be divisive in some
Hmm.
ways, in a lot of ways probably. Uh, but I was also going to mention that I loved how Denis and I don't know who the writer is, and I feel bad not.
The writers, so Hampton Fancher and
Okay.
Michael Green are
Okay.
the screenplay.
I just think they did an excellent job of appropriately tying in themes from Blade Runner without beating you over the head. But a lot of the fundamental questions from Blade Runner, the first one, are here, which is what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to have a human experience? And you see Ryan Gosling's character with his hologram AI girlfriend, and you look at the relationship that they have, knowing that this is essentially a bunch of lines of code
Yeah.
programming, and it makes you wonder what's sentience. At what point is this a real thing? It it does such a good job of balancing those themes and
Oh,
while also not answering the question.
yeah. I love the fact that they really explored that relationship between uh I don't even want to, but between our protagonist, our main protagonist, and his imaginary girlfriend,
Yeah,
his holographic girlfriend. Oh man, that's such a great relationship between those two.
yeah. Well,
Um,
and there's one thing that I thought was interesting from a technological perspective is that there's a scene of intimacy, and they use technology to show how how this AI would choose to interact in the real world or be able to interact in the real world. In this case, with Gosling, and it was like, what it would be a weird scene if I were to describe it, but the way they pulled it off was, I thought, just a remarkable thing.
oh yeah, without a doubt. That's like one of the things we talked about the technical Oscars. The effects team on this movie, you couldn't have handled it better than they did. Everything about it was just top level. There's no uncanny valley, and there could have been in so many different spots.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, it was just all handled flawlessly. That scene you're talking about is just it's a magical scene the way they pulled it
it's
off.
beautiful. It's a beautiful thing,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah, it really is.
It sounds so weird to say that, but it was done so well.
Right, and
Um,
we've seen movies before where it's like her,
Her,
where
yeah,
it's AI interacting with a person, and this is essentially the same thing but with a hologram.
yeah.
It's just that whole technology is really cool. The fact that he buys the enhancement and it makes her portable, that was a neat little
That'll
gadget
upgrade.
they included. Yeah,
The
man.
old tech of having like the rails on the ceiling that have it's limited movement.
Ah,
Dude, it
so
was
cool.
so many little touches that were great. Now we're gushing obviously over
Yeah,
this.
right.
I think people should go see this movie, and I'm bummed that it's not making more money. Uh, now, any flaws for you? I mean, Jared Leto's in this movie. Yeah,
Is he?
yeah, I know, right? Is he? I'm grateful that that they gave us a dose of Jared Leto that was appropriate for the story,
Right,
and
exactly.
not a bit more.
Well, coming into this, the biggest question marks I had were regarding the casting. We heard about Jared Leto. We heard about Batista playing an interesting character, and then
Drax, yeah.
right, and then when you see the character that he inhabits in the movie, it totally makes sense, and it ends up being a great character. He gives a great performance. It's a very small part, but he gives a great
But
performance.
it's a crucial part. It's an opening scene that you don't realize. You almost feel like it's the beginning scene of like a Bond film where it's like, okay, this is just kind of maybe a first case, and then we'll get into the real story.
Yeah,
You don't realize until shortly thereafter. It's like, oh, this is a crucial moment. It's a
right.
crucial thing. And yeah, Batista. I mean,
He gives an
he's the
understated.
second best former WCW or WWF wrestler actor. Is it The Rock and then Batista and then Cena?
Yeah, I might put Cena on top.
Oh,
He's the Marine. You got to give him credit for that. Respect your troops,
it's
man.
yeah. She was in the Amy Schumer film. Uh,
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
he
remember.
was. He certainly was.
He actually seemed to have some decent comedy chops, but that's beside the point. Batista was uh,
He's got a
really
career.
well, yeah,
He's got a career coming.
yeah, that's exciting. So, well, awesome. I did you have other thoughts
No,
on Blade Runner?
for me, really, I mean, like you said, we're gushing about it, but
Yeah,
I was so pleased by the end result that any little flaw, I just ignored it. So it just flew by the wayside, even if I did Did have an issue with it. Maybe Robin Wright's performance wasn't great. She was a little over the top, but
Yeah, that was a weird. That was. I mean, wasn't so bad that it was like distracting or
no.
problem, and it's a pretty minimal role, but it was really kind of interesting, and it makes me wonder how much I'm conditioned. Now, I don't know if you watch House of Cards, but maybe there's this style that I've been so used to seeing her hours and hours in the show of that like this felt jarring. But even outside of that, I feel like it just wasn't quite on the mark.
I don't think it was either, and I think she might have been miscast.
Yeah.
But she's incredible. She's an incredible actress. I mean, everything she's in,
very good.
she's super.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of hers. I mean, my favorite M. Night film, Unbreakable. She's actually one of my favorite parts of that movie. I just think she's outstanding, which is why it was kind of weird that it just seemed like just a wrong fit here.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, that's like the only little thing I might have had a problem with. Even then, it's fine. It's not even that bad.
You didn't have a problem with the city of San Diego being LA's dump?
My only problem was that I wish they would have relocated that to Sacramento.
Oh my gosh, it would have been hilarious. Or even like Barstow or
Well,
Bakersfield.
That's literal, so we can't.
It's on the nose. It's on the nose.
Yeah, we can't joke about that.
Sacramento would have been a really good.
My question to you is, I mean, I know we weren't going to talk about spoilers, but is the dog real or not?
So I say no, it's not.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I say no, it's not.
I don't think it's a real dog.
Now-
Unfortunately.
Also, this was the big debate of the original Blade Runner. Did you think Deckard was a replicant in the original Blade Runner?
Yeah, he was.
Was he?
Yeah, sure, he was. He definitely was.
Ridley Scott said he was.
What? No, he's lying.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah.
I don't believe him.
There's so much misinformation out there about like Harrison says he definitely is.
Of course he was.
Ridley, who wrote it or directed it, I don't think he wrote it, did he?
I don't think he wrote it either. He definitely directed it, but I don't
That
know.
gives him less authority.
See, it was his interpretation, which is wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, he was wrong about it.
Well, there's no definitive answer, right? Like
Right.
they won't come out. They want people obviously to have this conversation.
Yeah.
I was wondering with him being in the movie if it would answer that question definitively. Then, did it?
I think that it did, but it's not explicit. But for me, it did. So
Yeah, I feel like it did a little bit, but it wasn't explicit. They left just enough open to where it was still unclear, which I kind of like.
Right.
This movie, its job was not to answer that question.
no, man, it's a universe that I'd love to see them play in again. We don't know if they will. I don't think there's been any talk of it either way, but I'd love to see another movie in this universe handled by Denny.
Dude, Denny is at the top of his game right now. He is absolutely a top 5 working director. Deakins is probably the best cinematographer working in the top 5. Well, okay, top 5. I'm a big
Lubeski,
Deakins
come
fan.
on, Lubeski is that dude's a beast.
Hoyt van Hoytema is also
He's pretty good.
up there for me.
He's pretty good.
Sorry, they're butchering his name.
No, but I think this movie propels Villeneuve into the upper echelon. He's right up there.
Yeah, it's in the conversation. Yeah, he's in the conversation now of working directors like that are peak top of their game. I mean, he is now up in that class.
Right.
There's no question. This was an impossible task. This is a movie that I felt like he shouldn't have taken on initially.
For
And
sure.
this movie, for me, kind of my final thought here is this film turned out better than I possibly could have imagined. In my wildest dreams, the best version of this wasn't this good.
I agree 100%. The fact that when I first heard about this movie, my initial thoughts were, we don't need this. There's no point in doing this. And then after I'm leaving the theater, I'm thinking I was completely wrong. We needed this movie.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
it's just
great.
because 99% of the sequels we don't need.
This is true. Yeah.
And man, this one, I loved this bucking the trend. Really do.
Yeah, without a doubt, it goes in the conversation for greatest sequels of all time. Without a doubt.
So that was your initial response. The text you sent as you were exiting the theater was, I'm still processing, but my gut reaction is that this is the greatest sequel of all time, or one of the greatest sequels of all time.
Yeah,
which led me to think, why don't we create our lists? Okay, so that's what I want to do now. We're going to transition here real quick to actually having this conversation via Facebook Live. Audio feed's not going to change or anything. but it will cause us to just take a quick break. I guess a quick break for us. You won't even notice on that end when it's edited together. But anyway, coming up next, we are going to list our personal list of the 5 greatest direct sequels of all time. Okay, it's weird. There's no record button. It's just end broadcast.
Okay.
Okay, so let me start another one. I may text some people and tell them let's get it up and running, and then I'll make a note on my Facebook and make it public. I'm gonna make it public so the link could work whether they're friends with me or not.
Right on. Sounds good.
Okay, let me. All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, and you switched your settings again. It makes you redo everything.
Yeah.
So you're on your mic
I'm
and
at
everything.
540 with the mic as the input.
All right.
Check again. All good.
All right, let's do this. I'm gonna start broadcast and make it live. Okay, we're about to be live to the whole world. Sounds like Truman Show. And then we'll have like an official starting point.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start broadcast. Oh, I need to tweet out everything too. All right. All right, here we go, making this public. All right. So anyone clicking on our Facebook Live now should be able to hear us and see the image of The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh.
We'll just it's a little like appetizer talk right now. We'll get started here in just a second. Aaron, is The Empire Strikes Back on your list? It better be.
No, I just missed the cut, actually.
Ooh. For in lieu of Return of the Jedi? No, direct sequels only, right?
Direct sequels only. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to limit it. I think
Totally.
it had the I had to choose between X2 and Empire Strikes Back. I went with X2. So
Is X2 seriously on your list?
no.
Okay, I was gonna say we're gonna talk about X2 because I have feelings about X2.
Oh,
It's not in my
really?
top 5.
No,
it's not
it shouldn't be. X2 is better than X-Men, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It passes that, and I'm gonna talk about my personal criteria.
Yeah.
And that it meets that one, right? But in terms of other sequels, it's not on that level.
Right. So X2 is it's one great scene. It's a movie built around one great scene, which is the Nightcrawler scene.
Oh, the night in the White House.
That's the great scene, and the rest of the movie is built off of that. And for that reason alone, it's not a good movie. But it's a great scene, though. It's one great scene.
Who played Nightcrawler back then?
Alan Cumming.
Oh, wow! I forgot that. That's amazing.
Yeah, but
All
then
right,
they went back to the well with the Quicksilver thing.
Oh my
It
gosh!
was literally the same thing, where it's like
Literally
slow
the
motion.
same gambit, Gambit. Oh
I
boy!
wish it was Gambit.
Wow! Talk about a pun.
Right, and then we know the Justice League is going to do the same thing with Flash. So
Oh, I can't wait to see the slow-mo hilarity that will be of the scenes in the Flash. Oh my gosh. Or Justice League. I know you're more of a DC fan than I am. You jokingly, I think you troll me by saying you liked Batman vs Superman.
that's not a troll. It's an honest take.
Yeah. No, I love it's the long game troll, and I respect it and I appreciate it. But deep down, there's no way I believe you
No
think
long
that.
con. Batman versus Superman was a legitimately good comic book movie. No hot takes. That's just the real. That's a real fact stated.
Oh, Aaron. Almost everything I know about good movies and filmmaking, I've learned from you. And so to hear you say that, like, it's like you're George Lucas in the prequel era, right?
Right.
Like, there was a greatness in you, and now,
I think.
you know.
I think what it is my taste is it's jumped the shark. I no longer have a refined palate. Oh, we have our first message.
Oh, do we? Oh yeah. Oh, here we go. All right. We'll share that in just a second here. I'm tweeting out to our brave little listeners a link to this, and then
How many Twitter followers do we have now?
18,000.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, we were helped tremendously at the beginning of our podcast days when we were featured by iTunes on the front page of iTunes, and yeah, that helped our Twitter and our listener base grow substantially. All right, grabbing this link to Facebook Live, tweeting it now, and then we will officially get started. You don't tweet anymore.
No, I've quit.
You
Twitter.
introduced me to Twitter in 2008.
Yeah, I think it was a mistake. No one should ever be on Twitter. It's a
Well,
cesspool.
now I'm literally nowhere else.
When you're also on Facebook.
Oh, I'm on all of them.
Yeah, you
Dude,
follow
sign
me
up
on
for all of
Facebook. Well, yeah, I mean you have to sign up for them. You have to be on the cutting edge of all technology. But Facebook it's the devil, I say. Zuckerberg is literally Satan. But I still use the service, so it's good.
oh, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a necessary evil.
It's a deal with the devil, if you will.
Wow. I will say this, though. And this actually concerns me. I don't get Snapchat. I have a lot of loved ones, family, friends that use it quite a bit, get a lot of value out of it. But it's the first piece of technology where I feel like, oh no, I'm becoming that senior citizen that doesn't understand. Or not even senior citizen, just older person that like doesn't get a generation
Right.
when it comes to technology. And I like promise I'd never be that person. But Snapchat, I just can't. For me, I'd love to hold on to memories and pictures. Like someone sends me something cool on Snapchat. It's like, oh, this is awesome. Oh, it disappeared. How can I get it back?
Right.
Oh, you can't. That's the whole thing. And I'm struggling to find the value. Have you ever snapped a chat?
No, I would never snap a chat.
You would
You know,
never.
that started for me with the Vine. Remember Vine?
Oh,
I
yeah.
couldn't understand why people would use Vine, why people would actually view Vine. It didn't make any sense to me. So
Yeah.
I think that was the beginning of the end for me.
Well, we just revealed our faces. I
Good.
removed
We're here.
Han Solo in The Empire Strikes Back,
Bring back the Tauntaun.
riding the Tauntaun that proved to be a very warm blanket for Luke.
Do you think if they made that movie now with that same scene, PETA would have a problem with Luke slicing that Tauntaun up?
Oh, absolutely. Because it was practical effects. It looked real, and yeah.
Well, back in the day, they actually killed a white elephant. A white rhino. Check that. It's a white rhino they killed. They didn't have to. It was just for fun.
In what film?
In Empire Strikes Back.
Oh,
On the set,
okay.
they had two white rhinos. They killed one, and then they just tortured the other one. I don't know why. That's George Lucas. Like that's his thing.
Sadistic.
Yeah, he's a sick man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that sounds like George Lucas. All right, so this is going to be the second half of a pod where we talk Blade Runner 2049, and so there's going to be no official intro here, but I do have a little nameplates up there, so
Okay.
people know who you are. The guy in the Dodgers hat is not David Stoffer.
No.
The guy with all of the Star Wars stuff on the wall is. I got Stormtrooper, Darth Vader over there. If I do this view right here, you can see more of it. I got a cardboard cutout of both BB-8 and a Stormtrooper. Yeah.
Do we know
You
which
got so
stormtrooper that
these
is?
these prints are done by the artist Mike Mitchell, who you introduced me to, because as a Christmas gift you sent me Chewbacca and that Han. That Han.
Other
No,
side.
over
There
here.
you go.
There it is.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So where's the
sorry.
Chewie? I'm
Don't
not
know.
seeing a Chewie back there.
Chewie's on the wall that I'm looking at
Oh,
right now,
sweet. Yeah.
with an Ewok and the ghost of Alec Guinness, Sir Alec Guinness.
Did you save a spot for the Porzingis?
Oh, the Porgs.
Yeah,
The
no, the Porzingis. That's the correct way to pronounce it.
Everyone's gonna love Porgs when they see that movie. The Porg hate will stop. I guarantee it. I'm all in on the Porgs. Hashtag Porg life. Hashtag Porzingis. Kristaps. So, all right, shall we get started?
Let's do it.
All right. Woo! The 5 greatest sequels of all time. Aaron, I'm ready to lay out the ground rules here.
Let's hear it.
So when we say sequel, we are talking direct sequel. Okay, we're not talking about the third film. We're talking about the follow-up film to an original work. Okay, so in the case of Star Wars, that would be The Empire Strikes Back counts, but Return of the Jedi does not. Okay,
Right.
that's direct sequel. So we're saying the 5 greatest sequels of all time. Beyond that criteria, you come up with your own list. I come up with mine. I have personal criteria that the reality is we were probably going to have quite a bit of overlap on our lists, and I wanted to avoid that. So I made my list a little stricter. And so just to explain here at the top, because my list will seem probably crazy to some people. There'll be at least some crazy omissions. But for my 5 films, they had to be sequels that I considered better than its predecessor. Okay.
Ooh.
So an improvement on the original. And that's why I was showing The Empire Strikes Back, because it's not going to be on my list, even though it's considered one of the great sequels of all time. But because I actually prefer A New Hope just a little bit more over Empire, I didn't put Empire on my list. Okay. So that's going to come into play and explain a couple more omissions, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Yeah. So that was a big part of my informing or selecting. So direct sequel has to be better than the original for me. And also, it couldn't be a sequel that was filmed simultaneously to the first film. So that applies to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Kill Bill movies. If it was filmed all around the same time, that it's a sequel in sequence,
Right.
but it's not in terms, because the difficulty of a sequel is capturing the magic of the original film or improving upon it years later, right? A couple years later, in some cases even longer, like Blade Runner, several decades later. And so I don't have the Two Towers, Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers on here, even though it is a great sequel. It's just not really going to count for me.
So,
Did you have any?
Yeah, I did. I had Back to the Future 2 and 3. Those were filmed back to back, so I'm taking those off the list now.
Oh, well, there goes 2 of the 5.
Yeah. So
We've got some people listening on Facebook Live. We've got comments coming in. One
in
from
hot.
Clay Welch. He says this one's easy. For him, the best sequel, Land Before Time 19, the one that went straight to VHS. Clay,
that
see
was
what
a
the
good one.
joke is.
I prefer the American Tail 2.
Fievel Goes West.
Yeah, Five Goes West. That's a great sequel.
It honestly is.
I haven't seen
Well,
it
it's
since
better
I was
than
a
the
child.
original. I will fight anyone who doesn't think Fievel Goes West is better. The old lazy eye. Anyway, classic.
It's a great
It's
movie.
like Rescuers Down Under is better than Rescuers.
I haven't seen either one, so I'm going to take your word on that.
All right. All right. Well, I had a very Disney upbringing, apparently.
So did I. It's funny because we only watched like 5 Disney movies, though. Like I peripherally heard of all these other Disney movies, but I've never seen most of them, like Aristocats and Lady and the Tramp. I don't think I've ever seen that fully. I've seen parts of it, but
Oh, we're gonna have to do a Lady in the Tramp pod.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, so you had all those ground rules. My only rules were that the sequel was good because the bar for sequels is so low.
It's so low.
I said as long as the sequel is good, I'm in. It's qualifying for my list. So
Were you as surprised as I was in doing research for this list that there really is a really small group of films
Yeah.
that fit this?
yeah, I
Like
mean,
even without a strict definition that I apply, it's still I can honestly count them on two hands.
it's incredibly slim pickings. Most of it is all horror related too.
Yeah.
And the thing about the horror sequels, they're all bad. So I did have some of the ones that just missed the cut. Was Ninja Turtles 2, was Secret of the
Secret
Ooze.
of the Ooze?
Incredible movie, but it missed my cut just by a hair.
Oh my gosh.
Bill and Ted's second excellent event, and Bogus Journey.
Bogus Journey.
The Bogus Journey missed
Were
the.
you startled with how much? Like I saw that on a lot of lists.
Was it really? The movie's terrible.
It's terrible.
The first one's
I
good.
love
The first one is
the
funny.
first one's great. It's a classic.
Yeah, but Bogus Journey sucks. Like if we're gonna
Yeah.
be honest, Young Guns 2 almost made the list. Very solid
Sister
sequel.
Act 2.
Sister Act 2 is I think that's better than the original, but it's not on my list.
Okay.
Batman Returns, great sequel. Didn't
Yeah.
make my list. Yeah.
So I have some as well. I'm going to run through. There'll be some controversial ones that I won't read right now because we'll talk about them once I don't name them.
Yeah.
But I was surprised in some of the lists that I read how often people were listing Born Supremacy,
It's
which
okay.
is a fine film, but I think it's not a bad movie, but I don't think it's superior to either Identity or Ultimatum.
No, it's not.
It's certainly better than the two after that. But like in the original trilogy, I'm surprised that people feel so strongly about Supremacy. I thought it was
The
the
first Born
weakest.
is still the best Born.
Yeah, that's what I agree. It's totally the best one. So that was fascinating. Superman 2, Batman Returns, going along the comic book theme, X-Men 2, all those are really good sequels. Wrath of Khan. I put Back to the Future 2 just because it was so crucial in my upbringing, but it's obviously just far inferior to the first Back to the Future, which is a near perfect.
Yeah,
And,
how did they miss the mark on Back to the Future 2, by the way?
But by not obeying any laws of time travel but for the merch alone, the hoverboard, the Nikes, I
Yeah.
mean,
There were some fun
the
elements.
3D Jaws.
Right. But the movie,
so
it's bad.
we have another commenter referencing Harry Potter. I'm assuming he's saying that Harry Potter is one of his favorite sequels, which means he's saying Chamber of Secrets is the best of the bunch, or at least better than the Sorcerer's Stone. And look, I don't want to talk down to our listeners. I don't want to be condescending.
But sometimes
But I don't
they're
think
wrong.
anyone's getting.
Yeah.
No one's getting in the corner of Chamber of Secrets. I'm sorry. Sorry. But thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for participating.
If you have any other bad suggestions, please feel free to message us,
Yes, I want all your bad sequels.
and we will ridicule you. So just go ahead, let us know.
So so we ranked these. I ranked mine 1 through 5. You want me to kick this off, or are you going to
it.
go first? Okay.
get it started.
All right. Well, I got an image here that I'm gonna bring up to represent mine, which is
Ooh.
From Russia with Love, starring Sean Connery as James Bond. This is the second Bond film after Dr. No, which was a huge hit. From Russia with Love. Now, I grew up on these James Bond films. My dad, I remember we got him for Christmas one year, like the whole VHS collection of however many Bond films there were.
Yeah.
And I remember he wouldn't let us watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service because he said it was the quote crap Bond. And also, I don't think he allowed us to watch Timothy Dalton, or no, it was Roger Moore because he said he wasn't actually Bond. But my dad was a big Sean Connery fan, and so From Russia with Love, this is a film that is one of my favorite Bond films, but it clearly improves on the formula outlined in Dr. No. Like everything about From Russia with Love is better, and Dr. No is a good movie. It's a huge upgrade over the original still, and it's one of the all-time Bond films. And so Yeah, From Russia with Love.
So I'm completely ignorant to Bond. I've only seen some of the newer ones. It's not a series that I've ever gotten into, and I watched the trailer from Russia with Love because I've seen so the movie got so much praise, and it looks really interesting. It looks like fun. I might actually check it out. So glad to see it on your list here.
Yeah, I think you should. I think you should check it out. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is the movie Mallrats.
Mallrats.
Mallrats is my number 5. So, I mean, it's not a direct sequel to Clerks, but
Okay.
it is a sequel in the sense that it's in the Jay and Silent Bob universe. The universe established in Clerks. This is their second adventure, so I consider it a
Okay.
sequel. This is the movie that made me fall in love with independent movies. So, I mean, I rented it from Blockbuster on the recommendation of one of my friends in high school, and it basically changed my life. I have the movie memorized. I've seen it probably 200 times. Everything about it was like right in my wheelhouse in the mid to late 90s. Me, basically, my high school years. So I find the movie still to this day entertaining and funny. And it's just a really stupid, kind of a slapstick comedy at times, but really just crass and crude and very funny. So Mallrats is on my list for best sequels.
Was Mallrats critically well received?
No, it was it was actually critically panned because the reception to Clerks was that Kevin Smith is like this new visionary. He's breathing some fresh air into this burgeoning independent film scene, and he made this kind of subversive, moody little movie that was heavily relied on dialogue, and it was it's just like this. It was like his commentary on modern society is what they thought, basically. So they had high hopes for his next movie, and he went incredibly lowbrow with Mallrats. So everyone hated it, and it bombed at the box office. But I
Wow.
think the movie's hilarious, and it's a beloved movie now.
So it sounds like Mallrats is the Pinkerton of
Without a doubt, it is definitely the Pinkerton.
Mallrats. I should have expected you were going to do one of these Kevin Smith. You're going
Had
to
to,
sneak in a
man.
Kevin Smith.
Had to give some Kevin Smith love.
Well, you did. You did. So my number 4 is my only superhero film on this list, and it's going to be controversial because it is Spider-Man 2.
Whoa.
So Spider-Man 2, it meets my criteria. It is better than the original Spider-Man. Same director, Sam Raimi. Spider-Man 2 is 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is, fun fact, the same score as The Dark Knight. Now, that's what's controversial here, is I have Spider-Man 2 on here, and I do not have The Dark Knight on here. Let's just get this out of the way here. Mostly because in all the lists I looked up, everyone had The Dark Knight in like the top 3.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight is a very good film. The Dark Knight has one of the all-time performances with Heath Ledger. It has one of the most iconic openings in a superhero film with the whole bank robbery. It's a really good sequel to Batman Begins. In my personal opinion, it is not a better film than Batman Begins, which is ultimately why it's on this list. I just couldn't forgive them for swapping, Maggie Gyllenhaal for Katie Holmes. It didn't work. No. For me, what it was I think the success of Dark Knight was propped up too much on an incredible performance. If you really get into like kind of the themes and the morals of the film, it gets awfully murky. And I don't think it's really clear what exactly they're trying to communicate. And then you get to a third act that I feel like is very sloppy, and that is everything to do with Two-Face. Now, it doesn't ruin the film for me. It's still a very enjoyable film, and it's a great piece of cinema by Nolan, but it's just not the best of the Batman films, which is why I don't have it there. I know people are going to think I'm crazy. I mean, we got like right here, Tristan Turner says, "Yikes." So already getting some
You read my
blowback.
mind.
Yes. Michael Hyland says bye. So he's done.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah. Lost one already. And shortly after he wrote bye, he wrote Shrek. So we got one last movie in.
Shrek 2 is a solid movie. I'll give him that.
It's honestly like it's on my long list. If I made the 20 sequels, Shrek 2 is actually on there. Michael Hyland quotes Dark Knight. He's a huge fan of Dark Knight. He quotes "No more dead cops," which is the famous scene.
Some quality dialogue there in the movie.
The guys, yes, the Gotham police were pretty upset in that scene. And so, Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst. this is a movie that had so much more emotional resonance to me than the original Spider-Man. It was surprisingly good. I just remember being so shocked because I was used to sequels being a shell of the predecessor. Or sequels are always kind of like, okay, this will be not as good as the original, but I'll still get some value out of it. But Spider-Man 2 was one of the earlier films that I remember thinking, whoa, it's better. Like, how did that happen? And Spider-Man was awesome. And so for me, Spider-Man 2 has to be considered one of the great sequels.
Spider-Man 2 is good, but I think that they really turned it up a notch with 3 and the dance sequence. That's really what the series was missing. So I'm glad that they did that.
Oh, dude,
2 is good,
the emo Toby montage is so good.
Yeah.
So Michael Hyland is back now. He's asking us a question. Is Spider-Man the one where she kisses the spider guy upside down? She's right side up, actually. Yeah. Common misunderstanding. She is standing right side up.
And actually, he's thinking of the movie Daredevil, where they kiss in the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Vanessa Marie Torres comments on my Star Wars stuff. Those Star Wars posters in the back, thumbs up emoji. Thanks, Vanessa.
All right. And those aren't posters, by the way, just so we're clear.
There are, they look like posters for those that don't know.
Spider-Man 2 is pretty
again,
good
if I go this, yeah.
Spider-Man
What's your what do you have at number 4?
My number 4 is D2 The Mighty Ducks.
What?
D2 The Mighty Ducks is such an important movie to my childhood and upbringing. It's funny, I just watched the end of it today, this very morning, and it's still entertaining. It still grabs me. It still makes me happy. So yeah, D2 is better than the original Mighty Ducks.
Did you watch it in prep for this, or was it just on?
No,
TV?
it just happened to be on and reminded me how good it was. It's so entertaining. It's a great movie for kids. It teaches you a good lesson. It teaches you how to make friends with people outside of your race, and other nationalities and other countries. It teaches you how to hate Iceland. No, the movie is it's a whole lot of fun. I thought that it took every element from the first Mighty Ducks movie and just made it better. It brought in new characters. It got rid of some old ones that didn't need it anymore. It got urban, which it introduced the Knuckle Puck.
The Knuckle Puck, unstoppable.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, everything about D2 is it's the perfect Disney sports movie for me. So D2 is on my list.
You're getting so much love in the comments right now for that pick.
Thank you. It's a good pick.
Bash Brothers from Tristan Turner.
Yes,
Vanessa's loving it. She's saying agreed.
Thank you.
We've got Michael and his wife Natalie agrees. Wow. Quite a bit of support.
D2 is a great movie. And you know what's funny is those movies, the Mighty Ducks movies, made me love hockey. It made me interested in hockey. So it made me who I am today.
Wow. Which is a season ticket holder for the Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah, but a bad season
Big
ticket
hockey
holder. There was a game tonight. I skipped it to watch the baseball game. So,
well, Dodgers in the playoffs.
Well, yeah. So
Dodgers in the playoffs.
And D3, not a good movie. So.
Oh no. I mean, it barely even has Emilio Estevez, and they may even put in Charlie Sheen and try to pull a fast one on us, if I'm remembering. So we are. I think we are at my number 3.
Yeah.
All right, I'm pulling up the image that I can share on here. Number 3 for me. Whoop, nope, not that one. Still figuring this out.
That's my number 3.
That's your number 3. Here it is. All right.
Ooh,
we're gonna go solo on this here.
Nice.
This is James Cameron's film. James Cameron, Aliens. This is a sequel to Ridley Scott's film Alien, singular, which was very much a horror thriller suspense film, really, really scary, and a very good film starring Sigourney Weaver. And James Cameron takes over the sequel, Aliens, and I wouldn't say he completely changed the genre of the film, but this is not a horror film. It becomes something else entirely.
Yeah.
And like I said with my criteria, it becomes a better film than the original. This is, as a kid, how I was introduced to the Alien franchise. I watched this one first. Like, this was the one the characters of Bishop, just the androids, the action, and it still had the element of horror with the aliens. Just a very entertaining film, and one of the rare instances of a sequel, again, outdoing its predecessor. I mean, this is a classic. Aliens is awesome.
I will agree. It's the best in the series as far as I'm concerned. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. Alien 3 Resurrection wasn't going to be your...
No, That one was directed by David Fincher, though, but not my favorite.
Because we keep getting D3 talk here. Someone needs to call you out. You were watching D3 because
D2.
Your wife.
Correction. D2.
Oh, D2.
Yeah.
Whoa, that was bad slip.
Yeah.
Apparently, your wife was watching it, Aaron.
She was watching it.
Now that we're doing Facebook Live, you can't lie anymore.
No, she's calling me out for good reason because she was watching it, and I joined in, and we did sing along during the campfire scene. So, we are the champions.
Oh wow. All right, so what's your number 3?
Number 3 for me is you brought up Jim Cameron. This is his best movie as far as I'm concerned, Terminator 2 or T2.
Ooh.
Yeah.
T2.
Yeah. As far as I'm
can
concerned,
I just tell you right now that? Sorry.
What's that?
T2 is my number 2. It's the next one.
Okay.
So
all right.
So go for it.
It's the greatest action movie of all time, in my opinion. So it just happened to be a sequel.
Greatest.
Yeah, I think so. It happened to be a sequel, and again, he changed genres because the first Terminator is more like a horror kind of, not suspense, but like a thriller type, I would say. Where Terminator is more like a Michael Myers type of character, but in T2, it's just a straight action movie. It's like a chase movie basically for the entirety of it. But it's so entertaining. It's so well done. He basically created this. He created the franchise by putting this movie together. It's a franchise that's still around to this day. All the sequels have been terrible, but he's turned it into like $1 billion franchise. It's the best performance that Schwarzenegger's ever given.
Easily.
Terminator 2.
Easily.
Yeah, there's so many great things about it. Obviously, it's widely considered one of the greatest sequels of all time, and I had to include it on my list. So,
I mean, it was a phenomenon when it came out. There's so many iconic moments. I mean, it's a better film than it's just a vastly superior film to the first one. And in the meantime, James Cameron, like he does, is advancing technology, computer graphics technology, and very much in real time. The T-1000 character played by Robert Patrick, all the stuff that he's doing, a lot of the CGI stuff we'd never seen before. But to me, it's that iconic scene at the beginning in the mall when he's got the box of roses with the shotgun. That is just seared into my memory. And you've got John Connor at the arcade. I mean, as a kid, John Connor was me. I mean, I'd have a whole lot in common with him personality-wise, but in terms of I looked at him as the kid that likes to skateboard, play the arcades, and then he's also happens to be a guy that's going to save the world from evil robots. It resonated.
If you were John Connor, do you go with the Terminator if you want to live? I mean, he's telling you, come with me if you want to live.
No, I wouldn't have. My parents taught me, not to talk to strangers, not to,
especially if they're
I would
Austrian.
have been no. Oh yeah, yes, scary, stoic Austrian men. I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and just run home.
Yeah, no, Terminator 2 is so much fun. It's one of those movies that, for whatever reason, I feel like we rented it so often, and I just associated with watching it on Saturday night while eating pizza. I don't know why. It's just it's ingrained in my memory. This is a movie we rented at Blockbuster, and so
well, there's a handful of films for me, for whatever reason, the covers as well as the time that they come out, that just make me think of walking into Blockbuster or Hollywood Video. And I feel like they're the things that were always at the end of the aisle, where you could very prominently placed. And I just feel like Terminator was always that movie. Mm-hmm. There's several others as well. Pulp Fiction is another one where I remember that cover. It was always out. But yeah, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Also, Linda Hamilton, those pull-ups. The whole she added some serious muscle from Terminator 2 in terms of bulking up for that role. Yeah. Physically, her performance is incredible.
Oh yeah, she gives one of the all-time great female action star performances.
Oh, totally. And we're told that James Cameron is getting involved in this next Terminator sequel, which he hasn't been involved in the last few clunkers. And apparently Linda Hamilton will be making a comeback. So
good, let's see it. The franchise needs a reboot.
Yeah.
So
So that was your number 3 and my number 2.
yeah.
So why don't you go ahead? Yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah, you're number 2.
Yeah, my number 2 is the movie Before Sunset, which is the sequel to
Oh.
Before Sunrise. This is the Richard
Okay,
Linklater.
Linklater.
Yeah, Richard Linklater, Julie Delpy. Is that how you say her? Delpy?
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke
Yeah.
vehicle. The premise of the story is that these two people meet. In the first movie, they met in Vienna just one day, and they spent the entire day together. They're complete strangers, and they decide to get off on the train and spend the entire day together in Vienna. And at the end of the movie, they say, "I'll meet you again, like in 10 years or whatever." Basically, that's a conceit. And what Before Sunset is, it's them meeting up for the first time since that first meeting, and it physically, literally takes place 9 years later. So they're 9 years older. This is the first time that Richard Linklater played with that whole time, the literal time thing that we saw in Boyhood. This is the first time that he got to actually play with it with two actors recurring their roles after a huge long span of time. And in Before Sunset, they're meeting up in Paris, and again, they're spending the whole day together. And they kind of like, this is the movie where they spark up their real romance. And I think the way the movie ends is they decide to get married or something. I can't really remember at this point, but it's just the reason I love the movie so much is that it's like, this is the essence of what young Richard Linklater was all about. It's all about relationships. It's all about the interactions between male and females. And it's just two people walking and talking and sharing their lives for this literal amount of time. It's really interesting to watch. The chemistry between Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy it's off the charts. They're really great together. And I just think that their performances were top notch. The story is really interesting. And I appreciated the fact that they, the way that Linklater played with time, spacing the two movies out the way that he did. So that's why I have it on my list as number 2.
So do you think it's a better film than its predecessor?
It's on par. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily better, but it's on par with the second one.
All three of them are.
They're really interesting movies. I think that,
Yeah.
they're walking and talking, and it's very simple, but the dialogue is very interesting and compelling. And, if you have any interest in human nature and human interactions, this is the type of movie that you're going to enjoy. There's no action per se, but the sparks that these two have, it's really fun to watch on screen. So.
Yeah, that's a great pick. So creating my list, I think it was like number 6 or 7. It was just outside of it, but it is really one of the great sequels. And that's the thing about a great sequel is that they're unexpected. You never think they're going to be on par with the original, and this one was totally, which is all the more amazing. He did it a third time.
I know, really, right?
All those years later too. It's really incredible. So we are down to our number 1 film.
What was your number 3?
What was my number 3?
Yeah.
It was Aliens.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I had From Russia with Love, Spider-Man 2, Alien, Terminator 2,
Got
my
it.
number 2. So because you're down to your last one too,
I
right?
sure am, yeah.
Okay. So mine is actually one of the ones being mentioned in the comments, but I'll just throw the picture up right now.
There
It is Toy Story 2. So Toy Story 2, I've said on the pod in the past, people that have heard me, I think it's not a joke, it's not a bit. Toy Story 2, I think, is the greatest sequel of all time. It is absolutely incredible what Pixar achieved here. And I'm going to launch into the quickest version of the story that I can. But Toy Story was a breakthrough for a lot of reasons in computer animation and computer graphics, the first feature-length film. It was an incredible story, which is what Pixar is all about. Yes, they're advancing technology, but they spend years on story. The average Pixar film takes somewhere between 4 and 7 years to make. Only 2 of those years are actual production. The rest of that's just development. But that's the whole Pixar way, right? It's spending so much time making sure you get the story right. And Toy Story was a breakthrough. That same creative team moves on to make A Bug's Life. Okay, while Disney wants the sequel to Toy Story, and so does Pixar. So they decide that they'll make this one of Disney's direct to VHS, direct to video releases. And so they make this second building on the Pixar campus, kind of dedicated to making Toy Story 2, with some up and coming talent and directors, kind of under the Pixar wing, since it's not getting a theatrical release. Disney ends up liking, the direction that's going, so they actually do want it to get released theatrically. Okay, and so once John Lasseter, the chief creative officer of Pixar and the guy behind the whole story of the original Toy Story, when he was done with A Bug's Life and he wanted to see what the people had on Toy Story 2 so far, he was deeply unimpressed. And what they ended up doing is scrapping everything that they had worked on, years of work, and Disney was like totally against it, being like, we don't have time. Like they had a contractual release date, and Disney refused to budge because Disney, again, at this point doesn't own Pixar. They're just the distributor. And so they had 9 months to release Toy Story 2. And so John Lasseter spends a weekend at his house grabbing Andrew Stanton, who's a creative mind who had just finished A Bug's Life, being the main director on it. He grabs Pete Docter, who's working on Monsters, Inc. Pete Docter eventually did Monsters, Inc. and Up and Inside Out, a brilliant creative mind. And he grabs a few other writers. They rewrite the entire film in 2 days, on a Saturday and a Sunday. And they animate it all in 9 months, and they hit their release date. They did in 9 months what was supposed to take between 4 and 7 years. And that film was not just a box office smash, but it has a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It is 100% certified. And they basically, if you read the book Creativity Inc. by the president of Pixar, Ed Catmull, he tells stories about how he'll never allow them to do that again, in terms of how hard they pushed that team to finish. I mean, people were getting sick. I mean, they were pulling all-nighters. I mean, it's literally an impossible thing that they did. And so consider the Herculean task of making a film in that short period of time like that. And then consider it getting 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it being widely considered one of the great sequels of all time. Talk about unexpected. I mean, it's one of the true creative miracles in cinema. And it's a better film than the original Toy Story. And I actually feel like Toy Story 3 got even better. And that's Pixar. It's really incredible. So yeah, that's it. That's the number one for me.
That's a good choice. I'm not a huge fan of cartoons, but I will say that Toy Story and Toy Story 2 were incredible movies, incredible achievements, and still highly entertaining to this day. I mean, those are movies that I saw when I was younger, and I was already starting to get jaded at that point. I think I was probably in my teenage years when they came out. But even I recognize that they're awesome movies. So
yeah,
good choice. Very good choice.
Just want to thank another commenter here. David, your review of Toy Story 2 is certified 100% fresh. So that is my first piece of content I've ever made that got 100% certified fresh.
It finally happened.
Thank you, Michael. So I'm excited to hear your number one. I think I know what it is. What is it?
My number one is, it's kind of predictable, but I got to include it as number one. It is Godfather 2. The return of Michael Corleone. That is
Godfather 2.
Yes, Godfather 2. It's for me, it's the greatest sequel of all time. It's
the only one to win an Academy Award for Best Picture.
It deserved it. It absolutely deserved it. Godfather is a great movie. It's a phenomenal movie. It's a phenomenal achievement. Great story. Everything about it works. But Godfather 2, it does everything that the first one did, a little bit better. You have some better performances, better story, more fulfilling story, I think, a bigger scope. I just loved everything about it. I mean, really, both movies are fantastic, but I think for me, Godfather 2 just edges it out slightly. You have De Niro in his prime. He's playing the perfect role as young Vito. But it's a movie that you really should watch it with Godfather 1. It's kind of required viewing, same day viewing if possible.
Yeah.
Because the story is so expansive, and it's just brilliant filmmaking. I don't see how you could ever remake the movies and do it justice, or even another sequel. It's unnecessary. So
imagine if they tried.
I think they are. They are gonna try, and it's gonna fail, and it's gonna be embarrassing. But
not if Andy Garcia's in it.
Yeah, I mean, just think about all the great performances in Godfather 2.
Look, I don't have it on my list because I knew we'd both put it on there.
Yeah.
But also to abide by my own rules, I do prefer the first one just a hair over, mostly because of Marlon Brando.
Okay.
Marlon Brando, the whole opening sequence, the montage towards the end when
Yeah.
all the hits happen, it's a nearly perfect film. The second one is more ambitious and darker.
Yeah.
And yes, I do love De Niro, a peak De Niro. But for me, I prefer Brando and his performance there, and that's what ultimately just barely, even though it's not quite as ambitious of a film, it's a little bit more consumable. Because dude, I watched Godfather 2, and those scenes with Fredo at the end when he's lashing
Heartbreaking.
out about his position as his brother and the dynamics there, it's heartbreaking. It's heavy, and it's an emotional roller coaster. It's amazing that Francis Ford Coppola could make something like The Godfather and then go and do The Godfather 2 while making the conversation in between. It's just a director that's on top of the world at that time.
No kidding. One of my favorite anecdotes from, there's a million obviously from both movies, but in Godfather 1, the wedding scene specifically, there's a sequence where Luca Brasi he's practicing his speech that he's going to give to the Don. And that was literally the actor performing his line, and this actor was, he was practicing his line on the bench, and
they just caught a clip of it.
Yeah, someone on the crew, I think it was either the cameraman, Gordon, or it was Coppola. Coppola saw him doing this and said, "Start rolling, capture this. This is perfect. We want this," and he puts it in the movie, and the actor had no idea that he was actually rolling at that point. It's so perfect. It's a great movie.
It works so well too.
Yeah. But yeah, Godfather 2, I think it's just a little bit better than the first one. So
yeah, well, it's got more depth, and the Fredo stuff again is just
right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. So what's your 5? You want to reiterate?
My 5 are number 5 is Mallrats. Number 4 is D2, The Mighty Ducks. Number 3 is Terminator 2. 2 is Before Sunset, and then number 1 is Godfather 2.
So neither of us had The Dark Knight.
Nah, I could take or leave it. It's okay.
Okay.
I only like the IMAX sequences in The Dark Knight.
Which is the opening. Yeah,
the opening. The rest of it, I was just
So my 5 from Russia with Love, Spider-Man 2, Aliens, Terminator 2, and Toy Story 2. Now, the whole reason why we were doing our 5 greatest sequels of all time was because we just earlier spoke and did a review of Blade Runner 2049, and how your initial reaction was about how this has to be one of the great sequels. And I agree. It'll be interesting with time to see where it lands on this list. But for me, I absolutely could see it kind of abiding by my rules of being better than the original. Like, I can't say that right now. It needs it needs multiple viewings. But as the years go on, I could see Blade Runner 2049 certainly being considered with these films that we've named.
For sure. I think it's going to age really well. And, looking at my list, it's just like personal favorites. But if I'm talking about great movies, it's probably already on that list.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, go see Blade Runner 2049.
Yes, go see it. Go see it. It's long, but worth it. Well, I think that concludes our pod. This is our first time doing a portion of it on Facebook Live, and I appreciate the people that have commented.
Oh, yeah.
I look forward to continuing to do this. And for the people watching, there's a way we end our pod. We recite a line from one of our favorite films, a line from Jurassic Park, performed by Samuel L. Jackson, though I assure you we do not do it in his voice. But it's kind of like our call, kind of our end sign or whatever. Any last thoughts?
Let's see. Any last thoughts to sequels? Yeah, you know what? I'd like to see less sequels, or fewer sequels, I should say, not less. Fewer sequels, more original stuff. But if a sequel is as good as Blade Runner 2049, then I'm all for it. It's just there's so few of them. So, yeah, more original stuff, please. Like Ready Player One.
Yeah, more. How about just yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of the commenters asking us here if we're excited to see Ready Player One. My answer is not after that trailer. Loved the book, but that trailer has me concerned. So we'll see. We're not exactly getting peak Spielberg.
Oh no, not even close.
Well, awesome. I think that's it. Thank you so much, people, for paying attention. And as we say, hold on
Hold on
to your
butts.
Nailed it.